Straight ahead on 12 News, overcoming the most difficult times in a young person's life.
I felt like I wasn't loved at all, and I felt like my life didn't really matter at all.
In our continuing series on teens, understanding suicide and what we can do to prevent it. But first,
there's a lot of people there who lost everything, absolutely everything. I mean, their cats, their dogs, their clothes.
The aftermath from a fire that tears through a Plymouth apartment complex. 12 News starts right now.
That fire has left dozens without a home. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Anderson.
And I'm Mike Johnson. The fire broke out Monday night at the Plymouth Oaks apartment complex located just off Highway 169. Lisa Ferguson was there today and has more on how everyone managed to get out safely.
I was just in my apartment and the alarms started going off.
Monday night,
It looks like it's spreading more.
people were forced from their homes at Plymouth Oaks apartments.
It's just a disaster.
Before fire crews arrived,
Saw smoke outside.
a few neighbors ran inside the smoke-filled building to help others.
Went up pounding on doors and went to the first, second, and third floor. Got to the third floor, couldn't breathe, and we had to get out. The fire department showed up, and it's progressively getting worse and worse.
11 fire departments were called in to help. Firefighters had to deal with cold temperatures, uncleared fire hydrants, and a truck getting stuck in the snow.
We believe the fire started somewhere in the area of the upper levels. We do have a partial collapse of the roof structure. Our safety officer and everything else is making sure our crews are safe. We are still fighting an active fire at this time.
It took 3 hours for crews to get the fire under control. For residents like Katrina McGill,
my unit is the first unit of this affected wing.
all she could do is watch and wait. She couldn't tell if her apartment was hit by fire or not.
I don't know what I'm going to find. I don't know if I'm going to be homeless or if what. I just don't know.
And she wasn't alone.
It looks where it's at is like where my apartment is.
In the chaos of getting out, Rita Carter couldn't tell if she had a home left either.
I don't know.
In the daylight, you can see the damage left by the fire on the roof line here. In all, 24 apartments were damaged by smoke or fire. As for the cause, crews are still investigating. In Plymouth, Lisa Ferguson, 12 News.
If there is any good news from the fire, it was that no one was seriously hurt.
And for some of the tenants we met today, they have extra reason to be thankful. Here's Alexandra Renslow with their story.
These are my tax forms, pretty much from all the past years.
Katie Carey and Todd Keys have soggy stuff, but grateful hearts.
I mean, we are lucky to get our pets and have everyone be okay.
In the basement of her parents' home sits all the items the young couple was able to salvage from their fire-damaged apartment.
This is my wedding veil. It smells pretty bad.
A wedding veil, wedding shoes, and wedding rings.
That's Todd's.
Fortunately, we're all saved from fire. And luckily, so too was about $2,700 in cash the couple had at the apartment to pay for their upcoming wedding in July.
We kept money there for the photographer. We kept money there for the DJ.
But the furniture for their new life together didn't fare so well.
The couch, the TV, the end tables are everything. Kitchen table, gone.
Katie saved up for it, and that's really the bigger part. Now we gotta replace everything.
As the Red Cross assisted at the scene Tuesday, dozens of displaced residents seemed in a daze, trying to comprehend all that's lost.
We will accompany affected clients back into their spaces and to do further damage assessment to find out, what can they salvage.
For some residents, everything is gone. For others, it's a bit more bearable.
There's a lot of people there who lost everything, absolutely everything. I mean, their cats, their dogs, their clothes. They weren't even able to salvage anything.
It makes Katie Carey and Todd Keys feel grateful to think of all the precious items they were able to save, including one tiny piece of security.
This is my blanket that my mom gave me the day that I was born.
Katie and Todd unfortunately did not have renter's insurance, so everything that was damaged in the fire is a complete loss for them. The Red Cross is working to provide food, clothing, shelter, and support to the dozens of people displaced by this fire. There are a lot of people that are in need right now, and we've got information on our website on how you can help. And Mike and Jennifer, fortunately, we have learned that many of the displaced residents have been relocated to open units within the complex.
It'll take a while for people to get back on their feet again.
That's right.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you, Alex. Monday night's fire at the Plymouth Oaks apartment complex is the third significant fire there in just over 3 years. In July of 2007, a fire damaged or destroyed nearly a third of the complex and caused $4 million in damage. More than 24 families were displaced. Investigators determined that faulty electrical wiring was to blame. Then several months later, tarps were still on the roof from the July blaze when another fire ripped through the complex. 20 people were displaced in that fire. Investigators put the blame on a tenant who had fallen asleep while smoking. And it's not just Plymouth Oaks that has had to deal with a devastating fire in Plymouth. In 2009, a fire tore through the Parkers Lake apartment complex, displacing 40 residents. Like the Plymouth Oaks building, this one did not have a sprinkler system. Well, we're only halfway through winter and we're already far ahead of last year's snowfall total.
Yeah, the latest weather system dumped another 4 inches of snow in the Northwest Metro, pushing this season's total to nearly 60 inches. In fact, in January, we only went 3 days without snowfall. For snowplow drivers in Brooklyn Park, it's creating some big challenges. When they're not plowing streets, city crews are spending a lot of time making room for even more snow by pushing it farther back away from the street. It means other winter projects like pothole repairs and replacing road signs to meet new federal standards have to wait.
There's deadlines for that, and in the winter is a good time to try to get that work done because the same crews that are doing sign are the ones that are prepping streets for seal coating, stuff like that in the summer. So we count on that in the winter, and we're just not getting that stuff done this year.
Well, here's another common problem for plows: trash cans in the street. Of course, it's trash day, and they say it makes for an obstacle course, and the snow doesn't always get completely cleared.
A Maple Grove retail center could soon get a new tenant, a school. Parnassus Charter School is seeking to fill vacant space at the Zachary Square Shopping Center. Parnassus intends to open as a K through 8th grade school with plans to expand up through 12th grade. The school believes the shopping center location would be a good fit.
The interior of the school, we think is going to look great, and people have to use their imagination a little bit because it's not a school. But if you're familiar with charter schools, one of the things we have is the flexibility to go into maybe what you don't always think about as a school and be successful.
Zachary Square has had a hard time finding tenants because of the delays in finishing nearby Highway 610. The Maple Grove Planning Commission approved the school's plans Monday night. Parnassus hopes to open in August. Well, still ahead, a topic that's hard for parents to talk about: teen suicide.
In our continuing series on teens, we explore the problem and look at what you can do to prevent it. And then later in sports, we catch up with the Osseo boys basketball team, which holds the top spot in a tight conference race.
But first, another cold snap in your AccuWeather forecast. The good news, we expect warmer temperatures by the end of the week. Think back to when you were in school and you probably remember some times that were pretty tough.
Or even worse, perhaps you may have known someone who committed suicide. Every year, the Department of Education tries to find out what life is like for 6th, 9th, and 12th grade students in Minnesota. This year, the group of students who said they've thought about suicide the most were 9th graders. 21% of them were girls and 12% were boys. In our ongoing series, If You Really Knew Me, reporter Shannon Slatton talks to a young man who went to the brink of suicide and survived.
You're able to build and destroy all at the same time.
To win at this game, you have to combine skill with a steady hand.
And you hope that you find the right pieces to move.
Always hoping the tower doesn't come crashing down on your turn.
Jenga!
It's a game Christian Olson enjoys playing with his friend and mentor, Lisa.
Okay, I'm going first.
Christian and Lisa met at Treehouse and developed a friendship 2 years ago.
We kind of started hanging out, and, you know, he calls me Mama, and I take that seriously.
Mama Lisa. Dang right.
By the time they met,
Ready?
Christian says he was on the other side of one of the toughest times of his life.
I was at my lowest of my lows. I hit rock bottom, and not only did I hit rock bottom, I was digging with a shovel to go deeper.
His heartache started in grade school.
Just getting picked on every day, like even if it's only one person picking on you over and over, can affect your life. Or it can just affect you for the rest of your life.
As he grew into the awkward teenager stage, he felt very alone.
I felt like I wasn't loved at all, and I felt like my life didn't really matter at all.
It was especially hard during the summers when Christian felt isolated because he didn't have a cell phone.
No one really likes talking on the phone. That's when texting started coming out.
Christian says over the span of a year and a half, starting when he was 14, he tried to kill himself not once, not twice, but 5 times.
I just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore.
The technology that isolated him wound up saving his life.
I didn't have internet at my house, so I had no idea how to tie a noose.
When he was 16, Christian says he found Treehouse, and then he found God.
During that whole time, God was trying to change my heart.
Now Christian says he's in another place.
You do it.
A better place.
People still loved me. I couldn't see it, and I denied every single day.
Oh, here we go. I'm gonna back up.
I was just trying my hardest to find it, but I was looking in the wrong ways.
Well, there you go.
If you suspect a child or a friend is experiencing depression or suicidal thoughts, the Mayo Clinic says try to get the person talking first by asking direct questions. Look for warning signs like withdrawing from friends or family, being preoccupied with death, or saying goodbye to loved ones. And finally, get emergency help if needed and alert family and friends closest to that person. Now today, Christian is finishing up his 2-year degree and actively making plans to transfer to another college in the fall. And Mike and Jen, Christian eventually wants to become a youth minister and work with other teenagers.
Big turnaround.
Definitely.
Good for him. All right, thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon. Well, it's a good reason to get goosebumps.
Our chilly explanation is coming up a little later. But first, in sports, top-ranked Hopkins opens Lake Conference play with 2 tough opponents. John Jacobson has that story when we come back.
Pretty tight conference race for Northwest Suburban basketball, but right now, Osceo's at the top.
Looking very good.
Yeah, having a strong season, but yeah, there's teams right behind them, so they got to keep up their strong play. We have passed the halfway point now in the Northwest Suburban Conference boys basketball race. It's so far so good for Osseo. The Orioles are in first place with an 11-1 conference mark after clobbering Elk River Monday night. They hold a 1-game lead over 10-2 Champlin Park, with Armstrong and Blaine at 9-2 entering their game Tuesday night. The Osseo guys feel pretty good about the way the season is going.
Oh yeah, really excited. We beat all the conference teams except for Blaine on the way up, so on the way back, we know we can't make as many mistakes, and we really got to execute.
We're really excited about where we're at right now. We kind of control our own future and destiny here. You know, our conference is really shaping up to be a pretty tough conference. Champlin Park is they're playing extremely well. Armstrong, you got Blaine, you got Maple Grove that are surprising some teams as well. Yeah, so we are very happy right now where we're at.
Osseo is ranked 5th in Class 4A with a 16-2 record. Among those 16 wins, the double overtime thriller in which the Orioles overcame a 20-point second-half deficit to beat Armstrong.
It was a great comeback, being especially that was a good team, so it really made the comeback more special.
They're winning the close ones, and we're executing down the stretch. And I can think of about 5 games this year where our kids have really, truly, you know, played really extremely hard and passionate team basketball during that time. So, yeah, that Armstrong win was something else. So.
The Orioles host Anoka Thursday. Next Tuesday is the rematch with Blaine, the only conference team to beat them so far. After a lengthy non-conference schedule and 15 wins behind them, the Hopkins boys basketball team jumps into Lake Conference play tonight. The 2-time defending state champions are 15-0 and ranked number 1 in Class 4A. Hopkins is scoring more than 96 points per game and winning by an average of 35. The Royals expect the Lake Conference games to be tougher and lower scoring, meaning they'll need to adapt their game.
The games change all the time, and depending on, you've got to be able to play all styles. And, you know, we push the ball hard. That's kind of becomes our style a little bit, but we've got to be able to grind it out. We've got to be able to defensively play longer possessions. We've got to be able to offensively play longer possessions.
We don't really try to play the score or the opponent. We just try to play each possession, so we try to make each possession perfect. So it doesn't really matter about the opponent. We're trying to worry about each possession.
The Royals own wins over ranked teams Osseo and Lakeville South and face another tonight in number 5 Eden Prairie. Friday night, the Royals host 13-3 Wayzata. They are looking forward to the challenge of the new Lake Conference.
I feel really good going in our schedule now. We're undefeated. We haven't really played that many teams with that much of a competition, but I feel like once we get into, like, Eden Prairie on Tuesday will be a really good game. I'm looking forward to that game. But I mean, I feel good about it. I feel like we can. I hope we can stay undefeated the rest of the time.
I think our conference is a little better than most places, and it's a very tough, hard-nosed, physical style, and that's good for us. We need to start going against that.
The Royals have 5 players scoring better than 10 points per game. We'll have highlights of the Hopkins-Eden Prairie game Wednesday starting at 4 here on 12 News. While the current Hopkins basketball team shoots for another state title, a former Royal standout is trying to help his current team make a late season run. We caught up with Blake Hoffarber on this week's Sports Jam show here on Channel 12. Here's a clip from that story. The senior is part of a nationally ranked Gophers team that's won 4 of its last 5 games. Hoffarber is averaging career highs in points, assists, and minutes. A player who's worked hard to develop his game over the past 4 years.
When I first got into college, my freshman year and sophomore, junior almost, I was more just kind of a three-point shooter. That's what people looked at me, and I was getting a little frustrated because people were just smothering me outside the three-point line and not letting me get a shot up. So this past summer, I really worked on my dribbling and passing, pull-up jumper, floaters, stuff like that, so I can be more of a threat.
You can see the rest of that story, plus catch all of the week's top prep highlights this week on Sports Jam. It's on through Wednesday here on Channel 12. Can't believe he's a senior in college already. Seems like he was just hitting that shot in high school.
I always remember that one where he's sitting on his on the floor, right at the buzzer.
I remember interviewing him in high school. It's a long time ago now. Thanks, John. Coming up, a fun story that requires a little bit of insanity.
Why people will be freezing for a reason when we come back.
Hundreds of people are getting ready for a very cold dip in a Maple Grove lake this weekend.
3, 2, 1, plunge!
And this is a look at last year's polar bear plunge for Special Olympics on Weaver Lake in Maple Grove. About 700 people took a chilly plunge, and this year even more are already signed up. One team from the Brooklyn Center Police Department has been doing this for 5 years, and they know it'll be cold, but are hoping at least for calm winds.
I've been checking the weather every day. It sounds like it's going to be in the 30s. Got my fingers crossed. So I'll take 30 and no wind. I'll even take 15 and no wind. The wind is the killer.
Unfortunately, a little warmer than that this weekend. Organizers say there is still time to register to be part of the plunge, or you can stay warm and support your favorite team. And you can find them online at plungemn.org. And the money supports competition and training for Special Olympics athletes. And the plunging starts at 1 o'clock on Weaver Lake on Saturday afternoon. And they tell us that the hardest part is not the jumping in, it's the getting out.
Absolutely. Then you have to get out in that wind he's talking about.
You've got to run across.
Jumping in would be tough enough.
Yeah,
I think the whole thing sounds tough.
Just the thought of it, right?
I appreciate that they do that. I have no desire to do that
myself. They raise thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of dollars. It's really good. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks so much for joining us.